Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. Here's the crew. We're excited to have you today for the Home Cures That Work webinar. We have a fun topic today. Dr. Saunders is, first of all, he's an amazing doctor. He is not your doctor. And so that we do just ask that if we discuss anything that you're considering implementing today, that you do discuss it with your medical provider first. Quick disclaimer there. Uh, Second of all, Dr. Saunders writes a lot of articles for Home Cures That Work. And so actually, I'm going to let Cheryl chat a little bit about that because she oversees that. And I think it'd be good to hear from her about that.
So, yes, Dr. Saunders has been writing for 16 or 17 years every month on a natural health topic. Like, talk about brain dump, basically on home cures that work. And if you want us to write about a topic, let us know. We'll consider it for the near future. But he tackles a different health topic every month. And then we have other contributors who write sometimes something similar or a natural health subject. And they're published on the first of every month. It used to be a subscription website, but now everything is free. So please go there, check it out. You can search by topic. You'll find almost anything you want to find. For example, Candida. If you ever was thinking about yeast infection, just off the top of my head, you could look and find some natural remedies there. So we do like to focus on cures, but we can't say we cure anything, but there are a ton of natural remedies, natural health information. And let me tell you what, we've been at this for a long time. And we were discussing things like decades ago that are now common and acceptable. So if you have a question, you'll probably find an answer there.
Love it. So good. Okay, homecuresthatwork.com. I did just post the link there as well. But we're actually going to talk about one of those topics today. And I'm excited about this because I haven't read this article, but it is something I'm interested in. Many of you may be as well. And Dr. Saunders wrote this. And so, first of all, uh, plastophobia.
What?
What is that? And I think Dr. Saunders might have just made that word up,
I think.
but no, actually, he told us it is an actual word. And so I want to talk about that. What is that? And then we'll dig into some more questions. So if you guys have questions as we go here, please post those in the Q&A so we can manage those well. But this is going to be really fun. Take it away, Dr. Saunders. What do you want to share with us?
So plastophobia, it's a fear of plastics. And the word plastic means moldable, but it's not just moldable. It's something that can be formed into something. And so plastics are formed into just about anything. And if you think of how plastics have affected your life, it is dramatic. The modern age of plastics has changed everything. You know, before the um, the plastics that we have now that are taken mostly from crude oil, mineral oils. There were things that were plastic, but they weren't the plastics that we talk about. So you had things that were made out of metal. All kinds of metals could be formed into different shapes, and they would hold their shape. And that's a plastic thing. So things had to be made out of metal. So if you think of people, a couple hundred years ago, they had something called pewter, which was a combination of lead and tin. And it was the poor man's silver. Silver is something else that could be made into, formed into various things. And then there was ceramics, various kinds. So all the clay pots and those kind of things. And then there was glass, and glass was melted down, and that's a silicone plastic. So, and those have been around since anybody knows, for thousands of years and throughout time. And it's only modern society that has these plastics that come from crude oil, and they're oil type plastics, and they're carbon based, most of them. We do have silicone based plastics also, but they don't come from crude oil. The ones from oil are petroleum products, are all carbon based. And if you think of carbon-based, the fact that we are carbon-based, that what you're made out of is proteins and carbohydrates and fats, and that's all carbon-based stuff. And so people who are afraid of plastics have to be kind of look at it from a point of view as, are these toxic or not? And in some cases they are. And if you think about how long the petroleum has been under the earth and how long it's been on the earth and how long it's been around, where I live, there were some Chumash Indians that made canoes, and they made large canoes. They would go out into the ocean. So these are like ocean canoes, and they would use pitch, which is tar, right? And they would pitch the canoes so that they wouldn't leak. Where did that pitch come from? What is it? Well, it's plastics. It's the same thing that we use as plastics. It's tar. It comes from oil. The oil in the Santa Barbara Channel bubbles up from the ocean floor constantly. And so if you go to the beach around Santa Barbara, you'll often come home with black feet. Your feet will be just filled with tar because the tar washes up on the beach with the sand, and then it heats up in the sand in the sun, and then it melts, and you step on it, and it sticks to your foot, and so it's all over your foot. And then you have to get baby oil and clean it off, and that's what you do when you go to the beach in Santa Barbara. So if this has been around for forever, and it's been part of human existence. Now we take these same things and we refine them down to very specific types of plastics. So if you have something called vinyl, which is just a carbon with a chloride on it, and then you can connect a whole bunch of them together, it's called polyvinyl chloride, PVC. And that PVC plastic is found everywhere. You have in fencing material, and your pipes that are in the ground, the pipes that for your sprinkler system. All this PVC stuff is polyvinyl chloride, and that's a certain carbon-based substance that is made into a polymer that allows it to be formed and hold its shape, and that's what the word plastic means. So, are these plastics bad for you? No, not really, unless they leach certain things. There are certain chemicals that are used in them to give them certain properties. So when they want them to be soft, hold their shape better and be harder, BPA is used. BPA, bisphenol A, is something that is actually an endocrine disruptor. So it affects your estrogen receptors. And this could be bad for women because it can affect their estrogen and cause something like estrogen dominance, where you get things like fibroid tumors and cysts in the ovaries and breast cysts. And even it's been related to cancers because the estrogen receptors are also somewhat related to cancers. And it can affect men too. Men can get more feminine characteristics. They can have more like breast man boobs, they call it, right? You get breast tissue, or you get a belly, more of a belly, because the belly fat or the visceral fat can accumulate. And the BPA can accumulate in your body, and it can have long-term effects on the body. So BPA is something that has been taken out of a lot of things. You'll look around and it'll say BPA free, because that's important. If you're using a lot of plastics, then you can get a significant amount of BPA. If you're not using a lot of plastics, then you won't. But they're everywhere. It's really hard to avoid plastics because they're so useful, and they're found everywhere. There's something else that comes from plastics, and it's called phthalates. And phthalates are also endocrine disruptors. They have more of an effect in terms of creating like reproductive disorders, and even developmental problems in developing fetus. They also can interrupt the thyroid function, and are related to also diabetes for the same reason. You get the visceral fat that increases your estrogen production. And then it's related to breast and prostate cancer. So these endocrine disruptors, they're carbon compounds. They are kind of like drugs, right? But the plastics themselves are pretty innocuous and pretty inert. If you were to eat the plastics, it would be like fiber in your body. So you eat fiber, let's say cellulose, right? You eat wood or cardboard. You're munching on cardboard. It's all carbon-based, the cardboard is, and it's made of glucose molecules. Doesn't taste sweet though, right? Because you can't break them down. We don't have any enzymes that are going to take the glucose that is a glucose polymer that makes up cellulose or cardboard. So we can't use it, so we eat it, and it goes right through your body and goes out the other side, and you're done, and it's gone. And most plastics are like that. Like they're just kind of like fiber. You can't digest them. You can't do anything with them. They're inert, innocuous. They don't do anything. And the problem is that they stay around a long time in the environment, 100 years. So if you think about the amount of plastics that we're making, billions of pounds of plastics, and it's increasing exponentially. You think of the last 100 years, how much is accumulated. They have found plastics everywhere in the world. The top of Mount Everest, the bottom, the deepest trench, the Mariana Trench near the Philippines, the deepest ocean waters. There's plastics everywhere in the world. And think about in the last 100 years, how we started with just a little bit of plastic to now a lot of plastic. And then that's going to increase, and how much more we're going to accumulate in the next 100 years is going to be overwhelming. We're going to overwhelm our whole systems with plastics that have been found. Babies' brains have microplastics in them. The placentas have microplastics in them. It's like it's everywhere. And yeah, it's mostly innocuous unless you get those phthalates or the BPA. That's when it's a problem.
You said that they are kind of like fiber, like you ingest them, but then they come out the other side. So how are they in placentas and brains if they're supposed to be kind of, pass through?
Well, because they don't break down, and they stay around. You don't get rid of them is the problem. So whatever they lodge in, they can just be there. And you don't have an enzyme to break them down. You don't have a way of cleaning them out. So they just stay.
I have a really old cutting board that I don't typically use, but it is not wood. And now I threw it away actually. But the last time I used it, all I could see was cutting meat on it and little plastic pieces coming out of it and going into my food. And oh boy. So what are some practical things that we can do to start making some changes here? Or what do we need to do here?
That's an interesting thing about plastic cutting boards. Everybody thought, since plastics are non-porous, and they're like you can clean them off entirely, that they would be a better surface to prevent infections, like salmonella if you're cutting chicken on it or something like that. It's not true. Wood is actually a lot better at preventing infections and preventing contamination than plastics. Plastics are not easily cleaned because they get the lines in and the marks in them. But there's something about the wood that prevents the growth of bacteria. So wood cutting boards are still better, a lot better than plastic cutting boards. So just about the cutting boards.
Yeah.
So what can we do? Yeah, well, avoiding plastics that have BPA and phthalates. And you know, that's the most reasonable thing to do. Those kinds of things, they do disrupt the endocrine system in the body. And some people are much more susceptible to them than others. So some people will have that, you know, they're already borderline having an estrogen dominance problem, for example, and they just add that little bit of BPA, and all of a sudden it's a big problem. What was a little problem has become a big problem because of the plastics. So avoiding those kind, and a lot of them will tell you now, no phthalates, BPA free. Okay, you're on.
I've heard that receipts are really bad.
Oh yeah, yeah.
How does that happen?
Um, the um, the thermal ink. It's not really ink. It's the paper has a thermal plastic on it, that when it's heated, it turns, you know, black, and so that's how they print on it, and that is covered in BPA to protect that layer, and so you actually can get, there's a lot of BPA in as long, I suppose you can get some on your skin. There's some research on that that shows you actually can get it into your body by touching the receipts, um, and then make sure you don't eat the receipts. Some people I know won't even touch a receipt. They're like, no, that, you know, they'll just say no receipt, thank you.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, this is good. If you guys have questions about any of this, feel free to post that in the Q&A. Those of you on YouTube, you can comment in the comment section. I'm going to dig into some of the Q&A questions here. Lots of different questions concerning different things here. So, all right. So Susan had said, could you please recommend labs to do a thorough food sensitivity testing?
Okay. Okay, there are several. Mostly the one I use is Genova Diagnostics in North Carolina. And the reason is because they do food sensitivity, both IgG and IgA. Well, the IgA for celiac disease, and then IgE. So you can get a true allergy. If you have a true allergy, that will show up, as opposed to the IgG food sensitivities, which is not really so much of food sensitivity as you're looking at if you have leaky gut. So it's more of a test of leaky gut when you're looking at IgG. It's more of a test of allergies when you're looking at IgE. And so since it looks at both of them, then I tend to like that one.
You said Genova, correct?
Yeah, Genova Diagnostics in North Carolina.
Christine said I've used Ulta Lab, but not sure if they do sensitivity testing. And Beverly said, so are you saying that the increasing plastic particles we are all ingesting from bottled water, for example, aren't dangerous?
They're the microplastics themselves are mostly not dangerous because they don't have the phthalates and the BPA, the endocrine disruptors in them. They're just carbon based. They're going to be around for a long time. Kind of like, I don't know, you know, it. Think about it, like the tar that's on the beach. Yeah, that, you know, that's been there for hundreds or thousands of years, and it's just going to hang out, just be there forever.
Now, in the article, you do talk about ways to detox, though. You want to cover some of those?
Yeah,
How to detox from plastics?
yeah, yeah. So detoxing from plastics is mostly avoiding them. And it's really hard to avoid plastics. Things like polystyrene, and you think, oh, I don't eat styrofoam. Well, right now, A lot of people are drinking out of styrofoam cups.
You got to look
Hold
at
on,
less weight.
let me change the view so everyone can see this. Hold on.
There's your styrofoam cup.
There
Yeah.
you go.
And then styrene is also used in a lot of different um, uh, like protecting cans, spraying cans. So the protective coating on things is mostly styrene because it's impervious to water. It protects the can. It prevents the from getting oxidation, and so it's pretty good. Your liver has to get rid of these things. So how does your liver get rid of them? Well, the way you get rid of any kind of these buildup of carbon-based toxins or an excessive amount uh, of of something that your body can't use is conjugation. So if you help your liver out, there are certain things you can do. So one of them is called milk thistle. Milk thistle really helps your liver to detox. It's actually really good. There's been a lot of research on milk thistle extract to help the liver to detox. Um, Another one is by having enough glutathione. And you make glutathione by having enough selenium and cysteine. So N-acetylcysteine, NAC, all by itself helps the liver to detox by using sulfation pathways. But it also helps you make more glutathione because glutathione is made out of cysteine, which the glutathione itself is also helps with the sulfation pathway for detoxing. Um, getting enough antioxidants, so vitamin C. You know, a lot of people take vitamin C, and if you take the whole vitamin C, where you're getting the vitamin C bioflavonoids, then you're getting a very useful detox. If all you have is ascorbic acid, then it still is helpful, but it's not as helpful as having the big picture. And then the other one is the fat soluble antioxidants, getting enough vitamin A and vitamin E. So we don't talk a lot about vitamin A, but it is a very common deficiency. In fact, it's the most common cause of blindness in the world is a deficiency of vitamin A. Worldwide, there's a large deficiency of vitamin A. So if you're getting enough carotenoids, and then if you're getting vitamin A from animal sources, the animal sources give you directly the vitamin A. The plant sources give you an indirect form of vitamin A, which is like beta carotene. So the direct form of vitamin A is vitamin A palmitate. Yeah, is usually what it comes in. Anyway, so you can get like cod liver oil, for example, has a lot of vitamin A in it. Cod liver oil is a great way to help your liver to detox that too. So those are some things that you can do to help detox the plastics.
Okay. A few more plastic questions here. Selena says, what is the best tea to drink because of plastic? There was an article regarding plastics we take in.
Yeah. So tea to drink regarding plastics. Well, don't drink plastic tea. But you know, there's a lot of things that are in plastics, and when you're making tea, for example, hot water, you could have like styrene in your pan that protects your pan from oxidizing. Um, so I guess I don't know that there's a specific detox tea from plastics.
Or saying that there may be plastic in some of the teas is kind of what I'm understanding.
Yeah.
Well, I've
And
heard, oh, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
No, some of the tea bags are plastic. So there's like nylon. Sometimes those bags tend to be triangular in shape rather than flat. Like, so adding heat to the plastics is what we hear. Like somehow makes them worse. So I think avoiding the plastic tea bags maybe is what she's asking. But here's another question for you. Like I've heard don't put plastic in the microwave. Is that
Yeah.
worse for you? Like,
Yes, when you heat up plastics, then you release the BPA phthalates that are in those plastics, right? Yeah, that's a good point. Heating them up in any way. So, like, yes, making tea.
yeah, yeah.
I did just share a link for 25 plastic-free tea bags that you can use.
Yeah.
So
Or buy
share
loose
that.
teeth and put them in a little, a little, I don't know what you call it, a little ball where you can
Yeah.
tea leaves in and
Mhm.
create your own tea. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay, Wayne wants to know if cysts are inflammation.
Cysts are generally filled with fluid, and they are sometimes caused by inflammation, but not always. Sometimes they're infections, but not always. So it depends on the type of cyst. For example, a lot of people get what are called inclusion cysts. They used to call them sebaceous cysts. And they're sweat glands, the gland pore gets blocked. And so, but the gland keeps making the sweat. So you have this sweat forming underneath the skin, and the pore is blocked so that the sweat can't come out. So you form a cyst underneath your skin. And if you leave it for a long period of time, the water will get reabsorbed, but the salts and fat will stay in there from the sweat. Uh, and so you end up with this kind of yucky material that accumulates in these cysts. Other kinds of cysts, breast cysts, for example, women often get, and that's a condition that is often inflammatory from inflammation. And it's the glands, same kind of thing. The glands are making cysts, and you can get them. You can get them anywhere in your body. It's common to get them on the kidneys. You can get them in the liver, in your organs, or in your skin.
Okay. Let me see here. Whitney says, what do you think about using bergamot to lower cholesterol?
I think it's great. I think it's fine. The question that I would have is, do you want to lower your cholesterol? So there's an optimum level of cholesterol, and if it's around 230, between 220 to 250, 210 to 250, that's a good level of cholesterol. So you wouldn't want to lower your cholesterol if it's around that level. But if your cholesterol is 300 and you want to lower it, then there are certain things. Bergamot would be fine. I'm not really into thinking like supplements are the best way to handle that. If your cholesterol is that high, and finding out why it's that high. So sometimes people have like insulin resistance, and insulin tells the liver to make more cholesterol. So you end up with higher levels of cholesterol from insulin resistance. So getting the insulin resistance down would be a much better choice than taking a pill like bergamot.
Oh,
Wait,
you're
you're
muted.
muted.
There was another question about that too. Jamie had just asked, what do you do to lower your cholesterol? So, what you're saying then is find out what's causing your cholesterol to be so high. That's the first step. And then we can talk more about what to do from there.
Right, exactly. Find out
Okay.
why.
Okay. Let me see. Allison said yesterday you mentioned what you were using for your basal cell. Would you please tell us what it is again and where do you get it?
Oh, okay.
Lots of interest in this.
It's called Curaderm. Well, it's great, not just for basal cell. You can use it for squamous cell. You can use it for actinic keratoses, the things that the dermatologist freezes. You can put the cream on them instead of getting them frozen off. So yeah, it's really useful. And you can see this part of it. There were like two areas. One part was actinic keratosis, and that's it's 2 weeks. It's like all better. This other part was actually basal cell carcinoma, And it's 3 weeks, and it still needs treatment. It can take 5 or 6 weeks, or more if it's deeper. Anyway, it's called Curaderm, BEC5 cream. There's another type of BEC5 you can get too, but I've been using Curaderm for years, so that's the one I've used.
Where do you get it?
I get it online. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it.
Okay. It's
Yeah.
not cheap.
It's not cheap. It's like $200 for a little tube.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
170 or something like that. It's
Okay. Curaderm BEC5. I'm actually just
yeah.
going to post this here because somebody else is going to ask. Again, BEC5. Got it. Okay. Next question. Is there a way to get rid of blepharitis?
Yes.
What is
That
that?
Yeah. So blepharitis is the eyelids.
Okay.
It's the edges of your eyelids where the eyelashes are. So finding out why you have blepharitis is the key to that. So sometimes people have inflammation in the hair follicles of the eyelashes, and that causes blepharitis. Other people get the glands, there's some oil glands in the eyelids that get inflamed. And so what to do about it is first find out what's causing it. And so often if it's like in the glands, it's because of like an omega-6 to omega-3 ratio that's too high. Omega-6 oils tend to cause inflammation. So sometimes just taking fish oil is good enough for that. And also for that kind of thing, I've had people use castor oil, and they just put it on top of their eyelid, on the bottom, underneath the eyelid. And the castor oil has a rhizolein oil in it that is anti-inflammatory. Gets rid of the inflammation pretty well. So find out why you have blepharitis. If it's allergies, then you have to deal with the allergies. If it's infection, you have to deal with the infection. If it's inflammation from the oils or whatever, then you have to deal with that.
All right. Lily said, female, 81, in good health. I have used RALA for neuropathy, which does seem to improve it. Alpha lipoic acid, but what is the R?
Yeah.
It's R-lipoic acid. It's the active form.
Okay. All right. Which does seem to improve it, but I'm concerned that it may interfere with thyroid condition, hypo, on arm or thyroid. Also have much hair loss. Have you had any experience with these possible side effects of RALA?
Um, no, I haven't heard of either of those, either thyroid problems with alpha lipoic acid or hair loss with alpha lipoic acid. So I'm not sure why that would be, because you would expect they would be anti-inflammatory. The R-lipoic acid is going to be anti-inflammatory. And you should actually grow hair when your inflammation goes away, and your thyroid should function better. So I don't know. I don't know why that would be, or if that's even related.
Interesting. Okay. Jill says, what do you recommend for eczema treatment?
Okay, find out why you have eczema. So eczema is a dermatitis that's often a reactive dermatitis, and you're reacting to something, but it's not specific to one thing. So you could be reacting in terms of an allergy. You can be allergic to something you're eating, or a medication that you're taking, or something in the air, or something you're exposed to. Some people get eczema from the soap that they use, or um, uh, the scents that they use in the soap, uh, because they use what are they called? They're ketones that are often used, and some people react to those things that make the scent. So there's a whole bunch of things that you could possibly react to. I've had people with medication sensitivity. They get off their medication, the eczema goes away. I've had other people with eczema because they were eating nightshades, tomatoes, potatoes, peppers, eggplant, and they get off the nightshades and their eczema goes away. I've had a lot of people with gluten sensitivity, and it could be even non-celiac gluten sensitivity, where you don't have celiac disease, but you could still be sensitive to gluten or wheat for whatever reason, and cause eczema to come on. So find out why you have eczema, and then deal with the reason why.
We
Okay.
had a friend who had eczema and he did the carnivore diet. And I think it's kind of basically the elimination diet, and his eczema went away. So you could also try eliminating foods.
Yeah, that's a great idea. The elimination diet. Um, there's two ways of doing it. One is to eliminate one thing at a time. Another one is just like doing a carnivore diet, eliminate everything except meat. But people don't react to meat cause eczema as a rule. That's pretty rare. So that you could just eat meat when everything goes away, then you can add one thing at a time. And when your eczema comes back, you go, aha, that's what it is. Now I know why.
All right. Let me see here. Brenda said, what is the right amount of cod liver oil capsules should a 65 plus year old take a day?
Let's see, capsules would be a couple of grams a day would be fine. About 2 grams a day would be great because the cod liver oil is going to give you vitamin D, vitamin A, and omega-3 oils. And so, yeah, 2 grams a day, which is usually about 4 capsules a day.
Okay. Sib said, I assume blood pressure numbers are not one size fits all. Is there a preferred number by age? I'm 68 and wanted to know what my ideal number should be.
Okay, at 68, well, you're almost 70. So, yeah, they actually have done studies on what's the optimum blood pressure at different ages. And it turns out that as we age, because our blood vessels get stiffer, we need higher blood pressures. So even though a 20-year-old male's optimum blood pressure is 120 over 75, as we age, that 120 actually goes up to an optimum level around 70 years old of 140 over 75. Interestingly, the diastolic doesn't change. That diastolic pressure of 75 is optimum no matter what age you are. But the optimum systolic pressure does change. So 140 over 75 is the optimum right around age 70.
So it's not 80 anymore?
No, actually, it never was 80. 80 was okay, but the optimum pressure's pretty much always been 75.
I have someone who wrote into me asking a question. Why do I get headaches during fasting even when I drink water?
Generally, you're getting headaches because you're getting hypoglycemic. So your blood sugar is getting low. Um, what to do about it is a good question because doing nothing about it is probably the best course of action to take. And because after you develop your metabolism to the point where you can immediately switch to fat burning metabolism and not get hypoglycemia, um, then you won't get headaches anymore. But sometimes it takes just pushing through periods of time when you get hypoglycemia and a headache and fatigue and those kinds of things until it's no longer an issue.
I know there are some people that really struggle when they fast because they're so used to caffeine as well. And so then you fast and you're not having caffeine. They typically get headaches from that too. I have seen that happen.
Yeah.
Um, okay. Beverly said the hair loss is a direct effect of the low thyroid itself. So that was one of those questions
Yes.
someone had said that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Low thyroid definitely can affect hair. Yeah. So low thyroid, you have decreased blood flow to the hair follicles, hair falls out, you get thinning hair. That's an issue.
Jill says, in the meantime, what can you do for the skin eruptions and itching?
Skin eruptions and itching. Well, find out why you have skin eruptions and itching. There's a reason for that. The dermatitis you're talking about, like the eczema and that kind of thing. Yeah, you can go to the pharmacy and get a cortisone cream and put it on there. My experience is it's not going to go away until you actually remove the thing you're reacting to. It's kind of like someone's standing on your toes, and you're going, ouch, 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 get off my toes, and they're going, oh, here, just take this Tylenol, and the pain will go away. No, get off my toes. It's the same kind of thing. You have to get off the whatever is causing the reaction, or the reaction doesn't go away.
I mean, I think if you were to go into like the ER or emergency care or whatever, they're probably going to give you like Benadryl and then tell you
Yeah,
to follow up with your doctor to figure out what's wrong.
yeah,
So
yeah. Benadryl works for itching. It's good.
it also knocks you out for a while. Did they make a non-drowsy Benadryl?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Zyrtec is mostly non-drowsy. Claritin is mostly non-drowsy.
Do they work the same as Benadryl though?
Some people say they do. Some people say they work better. Some people say they don't work as
Hmm.
well.
Okay. All right. Let me see here. Butch said, I am having a night while my sugar is below 70 while sleeping.
Good.
All right.
Excellent. Okay. So, oh, I see. So, if you have a continuous glucose monitor, and the monitor, when it goes below 70, the alarm goes off, beep, beep,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
you're getting low blood sugar. Actually, in the 50s is okay. It becomes a problem when you're in the 30s, but yeah, if your blood sugar is going down below 70 at night, that's actually a really good thing. That means that that you don't have like insulin resistance. You're not your set point is low enough that you
Yeah.
can get into the 60s and still be okay.
Rita said also generic Allegra for itching.
Yeah,
And Sally said, when I quit drinking caffeine, I had the headache for 2 weeks. I tried taking different painkillers to combat it, but nothing worked. My stomach became upset from the painkillers, though.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So pretty much, if you're withdrawing from caffeine, you're going to get headaches for 2 weeks. And nothing works except caffeine. Well, but that puts you back in the same position. So, yeah.
Okay, Whitney said, I heard that the size of the cholesterol molecule particles is what causes the problem. Smaller the cholesterol particle, stick in cracks, and cause strokes and heart attacks. The larger the cholesterol particles are normally flushed out. NRP and ApoB tests this for the size of cholesterol particles. What are your thoughts?
Okay. Yeah, I've been doing this test for many years, 10 years, and I've been looking at this. And if you actually look at strokes and heart attacks, there's no relationship, even between the size. And so, what is actually causing strokes and heart attacks? It's clots. And so when you have clots in your arteries, then you get a stroke. When you have clots or in your arteries that are going up to your brain, then you get a stroke. If you have clots in your arteries in your heart, then you get a heart attack. If you have clots in your arteries and anywhere else in your body, you're not going to notice it because there's redundant circulation, and you're not going to notice a difference. But the heart and the brain are super sensitive. And so whenever you get clots in those arteries, then you're going to get a decreased blood flow and you're going to notice it. That's where the problems lie. So it's not related to cholesterol. Cholesterol doesn't cause clots. It's inflammation that causes clots. Not dissolving the clots fast enough. So lipoprotein A can be a problem. So that's why if you look at what actually is related to heart disease, it has more to do with clotting than anything else. Inflammatory markers, you look at C-reactive protein, that's elevated. What's that related to? Well, that's inflammation, and that causes clots. So, a better thing to look at would be to look at your inflammatory markers, look at your clotting factors, and to determine if you have any risks for vascular disease.
Okay. Susan said, is there a way to dissolve cysts? Thank you.
Okay, cysts are fluid, and so sometimes if they're little like tendon cysts, for example, they'll put a needle in them and suck the fluid out, and then that pretty much ends them most of the time. Or you can cut them out or take them out or drain them. So like with thyroid cysts, they can put a needle in them and drain them, and they often do that. So it depends on where it is, what type of cyst it is. They could be drained. There isn't anything that I know of that dissolves them, like specifically makes them go away without actually draining them or opening them up or cutting them out.
Okay. Whitney says, what is the optimal resting pulse rate for a male 80 years old?
Well, pulse is interesting, and that is the more somebody works out, the better the function of their heart, the slower the pulse. But then you get to a point where it gets too slow, and you're not circulating enough. So there may be an optimal somewhere in the, I don't know, 50s, maybe. Someone who works out a lot is going to be probably in the 40s. Their pulse rate can be down pretty low in the 40s. Their resting pulse rate. And then when the resting pulse rate is getting up into the 80s or 90s, that's pretty fast, and that often means that the heart is not very um, it it's it, it it's not very strong. As your heart gets stronger, you have a slower resting pulse.
Let's see, there was a question in here from, oh, I can't find it now. Algarita, what do you do about reducing eye bags, under eye puffiness? What do you recommend to get rid of skin tags on the face?
Okay, skin tags. Skin tags is interesting, and that is if you look at like depends on where it is. You know, around the neck, people get skin tags a lot, and that's actually related to diabetes. So having excess insulin can cause you to get these skin tags and acanthosis nigricans, which is just kind of a darkened skin, and then these skin tags show up. And I've had people with hundreds of skin tags all over their like face and neck, and getting rid of them means taking them off. And so we use just a little scissors and go clip, 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 and don't even use anesthesia because they're pedunculated, so they come off really easily. Anyway, so yeah, they have to be removed, and then if you want to prevent them from forming, then you have to not have insulin resistance, and so you have to be insulin sensitive. And that is, if you look at the diabetes solution kit, phase 1 of the program is that's what it's supposed to do, is make you insulin sensitive, and then that will stop you from getting those skin tags. As far as the bags under the eyes, that's a different issue altogether, and that's a good question. I've seen people who have tried castor oil on that too, and they say it works because what's actually under the eyes is enlarged blood vessels. It's veins, and that's why it looks dark. Because you can actually sort of see the veins through the skin. And so if you get the inflammation down, then those bags often go away, and they look better.
All right. Is turmeric good for inflammation?
Turmeric is really good for inflammation. It actually is proven to decrease inflammation.
My
Okay.
husband said he works in the veterinary industry, and someone came in wanting to give turmeric to their pet to reduce inflammation. He didn't know if it was good or not to give to animals, but this person also said, so I have two questions. Can you give it to animals? And then they said that you have to have fat with turmeric. I know
Hmm.
you need turmeric with pepper, black pepper to activate it, but do you need fat? So two questions about that.
Yeah, it's absorbed better if it's taken with fat. So you don't want to take it on an empty stomach. And then the black pepper increases absorption by 20 times. It's quite a lot. You get very little absorption if you don't have the black pepper. And then the fat also aids in absorption.
So can you give it to pets?
Gosh, I don't know. I don't know why not, but some pets don't tolerate certain things like onions, for example, you can't give to your dog. They're actually toxic.
Hmm.
So I don't know if turmeric would be toxic to any animals.
Okay, Judy said you mentioned yesterday about four things, one which was magnesium, and three other things for a slow heartbeat. Can you tell what I can do to get my heartbeat higher? My heartbeat goes to 37 when I feel I am active. I feel good and have energy. I have, oh, diagnosed for bradycardia? I don't know. Okay.
Bradycardia.
Okay. I don't know. Doctor does nothing. I'm okay with that because I feel good, but concerned, especially at night when sleeping. Even when I'm sitting reading a book, it goes from 37 to 42.
Okay, well, um, you have a slow heart rate. So bradycardia just means slow heart rate.
Yeah.
So the question is, do you have to do anything about that? Your heart is tied to your autonomic nervous system, and your autonomic nervous system is controlling, yeah, your blood pressure and the blood flow, especially to the brain. And so there's constriction of blood vessels, and then there's heart rate. And if your blood vessels tend to be dilated, you're going to have a slower heart rate in terms of getting enough blood flow to the brain. And so, as long as you're getting blood flow to the brain, you're not getting dizziness or like when you stand up and you go, "Oh, I'm going to fall down," that kind of thing. Then the bradycardia is not symptomatic. It's not important, and the doctors is absolutely right. They shouldn't treat it. So then the question is, what about those supplements? Should you take them? Yeah, having an arrhythmia, I don't know if this has anything to do with that specifically, but is an indication of not having enough energy in the heart. And adding energy would be magnesium, coenzyme Q10, L-carnitine, and D-ribose. And those four things are to help you make more mitochondria, to help your heart make more energy.
Brenda said first of all, I want to remind you guys that this is recorded, so you can go back and watch this. You can find it at bartonwebinar.com. You'll find a link to our YouTube channel there in case you want to go back because he mentioned a lot of good things. But Brenda said, I've been withdrawing from steroid inhalers due to side effects. Now my cortisol levels have been low. Is there anything natural I can use to increase my cortisol naturally?
Um, yeah, there is. There are adaptogens that you can use that improve the cortisol production. So first thing to do is the 6-10 reset, and that is go to bed every night at 10 o'clock with an empty stomach. Because what that does is initiates a circadian rhythm to where your adrenal glands will make cortisol in the morning the way they're supposed to, and then the cortisol will drop down low at night. So you have to have a good circadian rhythm to begin this process. And then the question is, are there any supplements or herbs? Yeah, there's adaptogens that help your body adapt to stress, ashwagandha being one of them, eleuthero being another one, and then ginseng. There's various kinds of ginseng that help you to make a good level of cortisol. Now, by a good level, it's different for you than it is for anybody else. And how do you know what that is? Well, that's why you want an adaptogen, because it helps your adrenal glands adapt to whatever like stressors and whatever things that you have going on so that your adrenal glands function well. And there's no one size fits all for everyone.
Susan says, what is a dangerous number for C-reactive protein?
CRP, well, there's no dangerous number for CRP. CRP is a marker for cellular distress. And that we often talk about it as inflammation, but it's more than inflammation. If you have diabetes type 2, for example, you might have insulin resistance and not be able to use fat for energy, in which case your cells are going to have a certain amount of distress. So you're going to have a higher CRP just because you have insulin resistance. That is not inflammatory specifically. So there's an optimum level of CRP, less than 1, ideally around 0.5. That is just a perfect level. And that means you don't have cellular distress, you don't have inflammation, and that's a good sign. If it's above 1, then you have some. If it's above 3, then you have a significant amount, and you should find out why and do something about it.
All right, one more question. Well, maybe two. How often should we take the turmeric pepper for inflammation? Every day?
No, it seems like the way to handle that kind of thing is like 5 days a week. Take 2 days off.
Okay. And Beverly says, I have always had very high resting pulse rate from in the 90s usually to maybe 110. My diastolic pressure runs in the high 90s too. When I'm stressed, it can go as high as 110. The systolic pressure has significantly improved since I've been following your recommendations from 170s to 120s. But despite everything, it's all very labile.
Labile.
One day last week from 173 over 100 to 90 over 53 with pulse above 90 both times.
Wow. Okay. Do you know what? That's good. That's something called resilience. So you want the variability. You want to be able to raise the blood pressure when you need more blood flow and lower the blood pressure when you need less blood flow. So that up and down labile blood pressure is actually a good sign, meaning your autonomic nervous system is functioning very well. People who have very stable blood pressure, very stable heart rate, it's always the same. That's not good. That means that they don't have resilience and that they're walking on the edge, so to speak. So actually, Beverly, that's not bad.
All right. How do you find out if you're insulin resistant? Last question.
Do the 4 tests. So do hemoglobin A1C and glucose and insulin and C-peptide. And those 4 tests are going to tell you if you're insulin resistant or not.
Okay. And actually, I lied. Is titanium dioxide harmful?
Titanium dioxide, yes, it apparently, that's the white color in just about everything. If you eat candies or anything that looks white, they put titanium dioxide in it. And it was generally recognized as safe until someone in Texas started doing some research and found, oh my gosh, it collects in the pancreas and causes diabetes. So yes, titanium dioxide can be harmful.
Okay, that's it for today. Thank you, Dr. Saunders, so much.
All right, you're welcome.
Good. Lots of good questions. Thank you all for hanging out here. We'll see you next week, or feel free to come back on Wednesday when we do our blood sugar and heart health webinar. You can register for that at bartonwebinar.com. Use code webinar25 to save 25% on anything that you may see there. Anything else, Cheryl?
That's a good summary.
Okay, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for joining.